What did you find inside NASA?
One of these people was a NASA photographic expert, and she said that in Building 8 at Johnson Space Center, they regularly airbrushed out images of UFOs from the high-res satellite imaging. And using the same blank password hunting technique, I got down to Building 8, got a few blank passwording machines there, and what she said was there. There was folders called filtered and unfiltered, or processed and raw, or something like that. I got one picture out of the folder.
Chris Lader, welcome to Lader Files. That was Gary McKinnon from a 2006 BBC interview on Eyes on Cinema channel. Excellent UFO channel. Link is in the description. And this video is actually from Gary McKinnon's own YouTube channel. He was interviewed by Richard Dolan, and he posted on his own YouTube channel. This is his YouTube channel. He has 16.7 thousand subscribers. That's where you can find the interview with Richard Dolan. Links to all this is in the description. In the interview, McKinnon relates his fascination with UFOs began in childhood, influenced by science fiction and the British UFO Research Association, BUFORA. His hacking was driven by a desire to uncover hidden information about UFOs and potential free energy technologies that he believed were being concealed by the U.S. government. He's famous for his infamous hacking activities related to UFOs and free energy technologies within U.S. military and NASA computer systems. McKinnon used a script to scan for blank or easily guessable passwords on networks. So basically the passwords that initiate, people don't change it, across numerous computers without sophisticated hacking techniques. He targeted low security systems within NASA and the U.S. military, finding many machines with weak or no passwords. McKinnon claimed to have found a spreadsheet listing non-terrestrial officers and fleet-to-fleet transfers, which he interpreted as evidence of a secret space fleet. He also recounted seeing a high-resolution image at NASA's Johnson Space Center, showing a large cigar-shaped UFO with geodesic domes. We'll look at that interview in a minute. He was arrested in 2002. McKinnon faced a prolonged legal battle against extradition to the U.S., which accused him of significant financial damage, somehow $700,000 in damage to their systems. Seems like he helped them note their security lapses. The extradition was blocked in 2012 by the UK government on human rights grounds, partly due to McKinnon's diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome and the potential impact on his mental health. McKinnon discussed in his interview with Richard Dolan the severe personal toll the legal battle took on his life, including loss of relationships, job, and home. Public and media opinion varied, with significant support in the UK and mixed reactions in the US. Reflecting on his experiences, McKinnon emphasized his belief in the existence of hidden technologies and the importance of transparency. Currently, he focuses more on energy breakthroughs and solutions, moving away from direct involvement in UFO research. McKinnon and Dolan criticized Wikipedia and other media outlets for downplaying or misrepresenting the UFO aspect of his case, and they noted a shift in the portrayal of his story over time, often focusing more on the legal and political aspects rather than his actual discoveries. McKinnon's case remains a notable instance of the intersection between cybersecurity, legal issues, and the quest for hidden knowledge. Let's check out that BBC interview now, thanks to Eyes on Cinema.
Here's your list of charges. You hacked into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Department of Defense, and NASA, amongst other things. Why?
I was in search of suppressed technology, laughingly referred to as UFO technology. I think it's the biggest kept secret in the world because of its comic value. But it's a very important thing. We've got old age pensioners can't pay their fuel bills. We've got countries being invaded to get award oil contracts to the West. And meanwhile, secret parts of the secret government are sitting on suppressed technology for free energy.
So how did you go about trying to find the stuff that you were looking for in NASA, in the Department of Defense?
Well, I assumed that although it's part of a secret government project, there must be military ties. I'd read 400 expert witness testimony, ranging from civilian air traffic controllers through military radar operators, all the way up to guys that were in charge of whether or not to launch nuclear missiles. So some very credible people. All of these people have said that there are UFOs, they are alien, we're using anti-gravity and reverse engineered technology that came from captured UFO craft.
We're using anti-gravity.
Yeah.
So this is the main claim that David Grush has said, is that there is a crash retrieval program. There is a reverse engineering program. And the reason for that is to get the technology, right? To get huge advantage in technology over the world. And that's the main reason the military, at least these compartmented organizations, are not going to give this technology up. There's just no benefit to giving it up, right? As soon as they do, then they lose any advantage that they currently have. And McKinnon argues that there'll be anti-gravity technology in the public space within 7 years here. He says that in a minute, which obviously didn't happen, right? This is in 2006. And he's already been under pressure from the U.S. government for 4 years, right? They're trying to extradite him to the U.S. It ends up not happening.
Right now, who's using anti-gravity?
Secret compartmented parts of the government. And I think we're being trickle-fed by the various defense contractors, so that I predict within the next 7 years that we'll have anti-gravity as a publicly usable phenomena.
Michael Herrera argued that he saw an anti-gravity craft being used by U.S. special forces, at least contractors, right? They were men in black, essentially, very experienced operators that were operating an anti-gravity craft in Indonesia. So Michael Herrera's argued that. You can check out the interview on this channel.
Okay, so how did you go about hacking into the computers to find what you were looking for?
Well, unlike the press would have you believe, it wasn't very clever. I searched for blank passwords. I wrote a tiny Perl script, the Perl language, that tied together other people's programs that searched for blank passwords. So you could scan 65,000 machines in just over 8 minutes.
So you went and actually accessed 65,000 machines sitting on, I guess, 65,000 desks in the building?
No, because all 65,000 aren't necessarily live yet. You might find typically 5,000 might be live. And out of that, 500 might be Windows machines, then 50 might have blank administrator passwords, which is a pretty bad ratio for the world's largest military.
So you're saying that you found computers which had a high-ranking status, administrator status, and the other, which hadn't had their passwords set. They were still set to default.
Yeah, precisely. And in some cases, it was thousands of machines because they had an image. Rather than install Windows off a CD at every machine, you blast it onto an image, stick the image in all the machines, and every single machine has a blank local administrator password.
So could this be possible looking back? Remember, this is in 2001. The internet was still reasonably new. And I was in the Air Force for 24 years. I can tell that the passwords are still an issue, right? We still have hacking issues. The only way they can get rid of any issues is to completely remove that network. That's why we have secret SIPR internet, right? You have these internets that are completely on their own fiber optic networks. They're not touching anything outside of their network. Because I think if you're connected at all, then you're going to be vulnerable. And it was a huge issue in the military, is just maintaining your passwords. It was always a pain having to change them to crazy password lengths. And I think this is the reason, because you can use simple techniques to get on computers. And just like when you need support and you authorize someone else to access your computer, if you use like TurboTax software or something, and they actually access your computer, it's very easy to do, right? So as soon as they're connected to your computer, there's ways to actually take over a computer, just like you're a help desk correspondent helping someone with their computer system. Now you can actually access their desktop. So that's what he did. He basically used a simple script to just say, use this blank password, the initial password that comes up on every computer. And if it's not changed, if it hasn't been changed for some reason, then he gets access. And he said out of 65,000, he got access to 15, I believe is what he said. So it seems simple and does seem possible.
And you actually eventually took control of one particular machine on a desk somewhere in NASA, is that right?
Well, I mean, I had control of every machine that had a blank administrator password because the door was open. So.
And what did you use that to do?
I was searching for files and evidence in relation to the UFO question.
Okay. Were you the only hacker to make it in, past the slightly lower than expected lines of defense.
Yeah, exactly. There were no lines of defense. There was a permanent tendency of foreign hackers. You could run a command when you're on the machine that showed connections from all over the world and check the IP address to see if it was another military base or whatever, and it wasn't. The General Accounting Office in America has again published another damning report saying that federal security is very, very poor.
So let's get this straight. Well, you were on a machine inside one of these computers in the Department of Defense, say. There were other hackers logged onto that machine as well from around the world.
Yeah, you run your netstack command and you see the list, Turkey, Germany, Holland, everywhere.
This is just amazing to me. Could security be that lax, where they just can't use this simple command that he's talking about and see who's accessing their systems? And I guess I could say yes. I mean, security vulnerabilities are a huge, huge issue on any network, right? Remember, this is a global system. So maybe there were connections, valid connections that these organizations had in those nations, but it was just taken on by other hackers, just like Gary McKinnon. So could it be possible? I think it's in the realm of possibility, yes.
Are they all being prosecuted?
No, because they weren't caught. I'm assuming. I mean, they could have turned out later on to be someone else who'd been caught, but not as far as I know. I think that probably, because the security was so poor, it's probably foreign government.
How many times did you go back into this computer within NASA and the Department of Defense? Was it a one-time only?
No, I mean, most computers, because I maintained a quiet presence and wasn't running around causing abundant damage, as is claimed. I was back on most computers.
Fine.
For as long as it took me to find out if there was any information on there which would be useful to
So how many times do you think you went? Over what kind of period were you hacking into these computers? Was it a one-time only? Was it for the course of a week?
A couple of years.
And you went unnoticed for a couple of years?
Oh, yeah.
What if I was, say, a NASA employee and I was walking past the computer that you were connected to? What would I have seen on the screen? Would there be any clues to anyone that was there that you were there?
Yeah, I was using something a bit like PC Anywhere, called Remotely Anywhere, so I could actually see the desktop of the machine I had control of. And if you were walking past there, you would see the mouse move and me doing whatever I was doing on that desktop.
Why weren't you spotted then?
I was eventually, and it was at NASA I was spotted. I even saw the chap or woman's mouth cursor come down, right-click the local area network icon and choose disconnect. And that was me.
So someone basically took.
So that's your remote desktop applications, right? You just activated a remote desktop, which they use for help and support, right? For security, just maintaining this giant network. And remember, who actually knew all this technical stuff, right? Is going to be your low-level technicians, right? Your low-trained enlisted personnel are usually your security officers. And like I said, in 2001, 2002, the internet was still pretty new. People didn't understand really the ramifications that anyone in the world could access a desktop. So it looks like that's how he was actually caught. He says he noticed the hour, so he made sure that he was only doing it when it was nighttime there, but he was still caught. And more than once, actually.
A mouse off you, if you like, and
in a way,
cut the
yeah.
connection.
Yeah, fully.
Why did it take 2 years before they caught you? Do you think there was no one there at the computer, or did they?
Yeah, because I used to be careful about the hours.
So you would log on in the middle of the night, so.
Yeah, to always be juggling like different time zones and stuff. And yeah, you're doing it at night time, so hopefully there's not many people around. But there was one occasion where a network engineer saw me and actually questioned me. And we actually talked to each other via WordPad, which was quite strange. That was very, very strange.
What did he say? What did you say?
Well, he said, "What are you doing?" Which was a bit shocking. I told him I was from military computer security, which he fully believed. And we had a little chat, and he tried to impress me with his virus knowledge and going into DOSBox, the console and stuff. And that was quite strange, talking to someone who's in charge of the place where you shouldn't be, and then not realizing that you shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, again, it could be just a low-level enlisted, a 19-year-old straight out of, high school, trained on this technician stuff. And is he really going to consider it, or is he going to believe that actually it is, from military security?
I guess that scared you enough to stop you doing it.
No.
Why?
Because I felt like this free energy technology that I was after should be publicly available. I wasn't doing any damage. I was snooping around. I wasn't making their security crueler because the administrative password was already blank, so the door was already open. The only thing I was doing was installing my remote control program, which is commercially off-the-shelf available software, so, it shouldn't be a problem either.
Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
There's a group called the Disclosure Project. They published a book which had 400 expert witnesses ranging from civilian air traffic controllers through military radar operators, right up to the chaps that are responsible as to whether or not to launch nuclear missiles. So some very credible, very relied upon people, all saying that yes, there's UFO technology, there's anti-gravity, there's free energy, and it is extraterrestrial in origin, and we've captured spacecraft and reverse engineered it.
I mean, it really is amazing the amount of resources out there, like this disclosure project that Gary McKinnon mentions, of hundreds of credible people claiming amazing things, right? And simply just no one can believe it, and there's no hard evidence. Could be the reason there's no hard evidence is all the hard, real evidence is scooped up, right? Scooped up by these compartmentalized government organizations, agencies, or who knows. But it really is amazing. So let's hear his claim.
And these are, very solid, reliable chaps in charge of launching nuclear missiles. So,
What did you find inside NASA?
one of these people was a NASA photographic expert, and she said that in Building 8 at Johnson Space Center, they regularly airbrushed out images of UFOs from the high-res satellite imaging. And using the same blank password hunting technique, I got down to Building 8, got a few blank passwording machines there. And what she said was there. There was folders called filtered and unfiltered, or processed and raw, something like that. I got one picture out of the folder, bearing in mind this is a 56K dial-up. This is
a very slow internet connection.
Well, crikey, yeah, I mean, dial-up days. A 235 megabyte picture, and if you're talking 5 minutes a megabyte, obviously impossible to download. Also in a NASA proprietary image format, not a GIF or a JPEG or anything. So using the remote control program, I turned the color down to 4-bit color, and the screen resolution really, really low. And even then, this picture was still, juddering and coming onto the screen. But what came onto the screen was amazing. It was a culmination of all my efforts. It was a picture of something that definitely wasn't man-made. It was above the Earth's hemisphere. It was kind of looked like a satellite. It was cigar-shaped. It had geodesic domes above, below, to the left, to the right, and both ends of. And although it was a low-resolution picture, it was very close up. This thing was hanging in space. The Earth's hemisphere was visible below it. And no rivets, no seams, none of the stuff associated with normal man-made manufacturing.
Is it possible this is an artist's impression?
I don't know. No, for me, it was two coincidences, more than coincidence. I mean, this woman has said, this is what happens in this building, in this space center. I went into that building, that space center, and saw exactly that. And the folders were even called unprocessed and processed, or raw and filtered or something, so.
So unfortunately, he doesn't have this image, right, that he says is from Building 8 Johnson Space Center, based on his 56K dial-up, right, 5 minutes a megabyte. So he has to turn everything down, and he doesn't get a screen capture. So it'd be amazing just to get a screen capture. But even at that, right, even if he had that image, imagine he had that image, anyone could just say that it's fake, right? So you could just say that's obviously a crafted image. It's been created. So it's an artificial image. So I was initially disappointed we didn't have the image, obviously, but that wouldn't make his case or break it if he had this image, because of any image, any video, especially now, you can just say that it's fake. It's not real. So for him, it answered his question that you had filtered and unfiltered actual photos. And it sounds like there is a process to actually make that happen, to airbrush out these crazy objects. Gary McKinnon also says that he was a satellite nerd, essentially. He's a space nerd since a young age. And so it didn't look like any satellite that he would actually recognize. So that's the best example of a government cover-up, right? He just said it right there. You're literally covering up the photo information, the photo evidence as you're airbrushing out any sort of spacecraft. He says there's many of them. There was many other files.
Do you have a copy of this? It came down to your machine.
No, it came, the graphical remote viewer works frame by frame. It's a Java application. So there's nothing saved on your hard drive, or at least if it is, only one frame at a time might be.
So did you get the one frame?
No.
What happened?
Well, once I was cut off and my picture disappeared, I was
You were
seeing
actually
it
cut
stop.
off.
Oh, yeah.
Time you were downloading the picture.
Yeah, I saw the guy's hand move across. And bear in mind, you're not downloading it, you're viewing it remotely. So in a way it is downloading because the picture's coming from theirs to yours, but you're not downloading it as a named file to your hard drive. You're viewing it through an application.
I mean, if I was to go and look for pictures that you've described, I'm sure that I could record everything that happened on my machine.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do that?
I think there probably was a screenshot function in Remotely Anywhere, which I didn't use. And I'm sitting there bedazzled, thinking, crikey, this really is looking weirder and weirder the more that comes of it. And also I thought that I was safe there. I didn't think I'd be caught, 3/4 of the way through of looking at the first picture I'd looked at. And also I was amazed that it was how she said it would be.
So you were cut off while you were looking at this picture. A few months later, you were caught. What happened on that day?
National High-Tech Crime Unit knocked on your door early in the morning. I'd been asleep for about an hour, I think. So I was very groggy.
You weren't up all night hacking.
I was, yes. But fortunately for me, they'd been monitoring me for 3 months beforehand and saw that I wasn't doing damage, that I was snooping around. So it was good in a way. Yeah, that was March 2002, and they said, you might get 6 months or so community service. Next thing I know, in November 2002, 6 months has turned into 60 years in an American jail.
Okay, so he's caught shortly after that, and actually while downloading that image, he says he was caught by someone. So it is coincidental, but it seems like if there is an image on the screen and an image of something like that you would take notice, right? If you're walking by, if it's just some files on there, maybe you don't notice. But now if it's a picture of this spacecraft up and you happen to work in that compartment, that's the actual information that you are covering up. You could see that how maybe that would finally give the alarm bells that, hey, something's going on. We've been hacked. Something's happening, to go out, try and catch this guy and find him. And then he's caught a few short months later. So it's Gary McKinnon. Amazing case. It really looks like the extradition process really dragged him down. Like he said, he lost his profession. He lost his home. And if you look in the media, etc., it really just goes on to him as a hacker and the legal battle against him. So it looks like he was taken out of the news, and his actual claims of the cover-up, etc., any evidence he found, those don't really come up, do they? It's really just on what happened to him as a legal battle and his idea as a hacker. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button. It really helps, and it's free. Consider subscribing to get future notifications of when I release videos. And you might like this video recommended by YouTube just for you. If you want to support the channel, join these great people over here, get exclusive bonus content, then click this button here, patreon.com/Chris Slato, or become a YouTube member. If you want to continue the discussion, go to UAP Society Discord. Links are all in the description. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.